Okay, guys, welcome to the May podcast, the long form podcast. Okay, let's buckle in for this one because I thought I knew, as usual, I thought I knew what we were getting into, but some really interesting things are coming through, and I'm hopefully going to be able to unpack this in a way that's helpful. It feels big, it feels deep, it feels like something about the April energy that we were in. So something about that Emperor Alchemist, Emperor Temperance, paving the way for an experience this May that's quite different than what we might be expecting. So I'm just going to start to talk through it, and we're going to trust the channel. We're going to trust what needs to come through is going to come through. And may it serve us. May it serve me. May it serve you. May it serve us. May it allow us to become more powerful, like channels for love in the world. Okay, let's just take a look at these two cards together. Just take a second. Hopefully you have me on video and you can see these two cards side by side. Literally, this is the sacred and the profane. Okay, like literally what we're talking about here is the sacred, the Hierophant, and the profane, the devil. Now, the first thing I want to say about that is that you guys know, obsessed with Kim Krantz and the work I'm doing with her, but we're working with polarities right now. And one of the polarities we're working with is the sacred and the profane. And one of the things that she read that comes from Jung is this idea, and it's actually I've never heard this word before, but this idea that if you hold the tension of get out my notebook. If you hold the tension of two polarities, two polar concept, polarized ideas in your mind at the same time, that they actually invert, that they actually like turn inside themselves and become each other. And I'm not even saying that nearly as clearly as he means it. What did he say? The word is, if I wrote it down, the word is, I can't even read this. It's a crazy word. An antiodromia. So when you hold two opposing polar ideas in your mind at the same time and you hold them, you try to hold the tension between the two, they actually like invert themselves and become the reverse. That's interesting that came up last week because that's what I'm seeing in these cards. There's something here about these two cards side by side that are like, oh, this is sacred, this is profane. And something about this month, and astrologers check me on this, these two things invert. They become each other. They reverse themselves. And I think you can see that happening, right, with institutions. We're talking about institutions here. When we're talking about the Hierophant, you can see that with just the lack of trust, the kind of like, what the fuck is going on with these institutions? Energy that's so alive, has been for so long, but is particularly rich and thick right now. And this idea of the body, something that we have for a long time put aside as baser than spirit or as something just to manage, is become something sacred. And there are ways in which that's off, right? The too much pressure to make your body perfect, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the earth base. We're talking about the matriarchy. We're talking about dropping into our bodies. We're talking about Pachamama. We're talking about understanding that the material is sacred. I was listening to this writer speak about holding the tension of opposites, and she was talking about how the body is base. And I kept being like, who says that's such old thinking? That doesn't even sound, it like hurt me to hear her say that. But that's kind of what this is the tradition, right? The body's needs, our passion, our desires, our drives are wrong. The institution, the spirit, the sacred, the church, that is right. And there's something about, you can see it's been happening. There's something about when I held these two cards together right now, it was like, these are not what they seem. There's an inverse happening, a reversal happening. And the thing I kept hearing, which I don't know the Bible very well, I know the loose concept, I know the general narrative, but there's a quote that says, and the last shall be first. I don't know exactly what that reference is, but I heard that when I was looking at the cards, like the energy of May being like, and the last shall be first. Something about May taking our idea of what is sacred and what is profane and completely turning it on its head, completely inverting it, reversing it. I cannot tell you how strong my body chills are when I say that and how good that feels. You want to talk about revolution? You want to talk about liberation? That's here. That's here, and maybe guns in the streets, like, huzzah, let's find out. But more like, holy shit, I've had it wrong. We've had it wrong this whole time. Oh my God, I have been hoodwinked. Oh my God, the things that I thought were sacred, the things that's been drummed into my mind as, or into my body, into my system as important, sacred, holy, incorruptible, untouchable, that was the body the whole time. That was the earth the whole time. That was the material world the whole time. And it has this kind of very dystopian, what's that movie where they're like in the different or the book, they're in the different factions, like Dauntless and the ones who are erudite. So there's like the smart ones, there's the fearless ones, there's the pious ones, and there's something else. And they have this idea that everyone belongs in one category. Divergent, right? Does anyone, I'm the only teen mom who knows that book. But this idea that like there's these, everyone fits into a category, and the categories are sacred and they are closed systems. And there's something about it where it's like the whole point of that book is that no one fits in just one category. Everyone is a mix. It's all actually an open system. And the mechanism of control is to tell you that you fit into one system. There's something here about the mechanism of control being, this is sacred. You are not of God, right? Let's go back to the beginning. 5. 5 is change, freedom, conflict, challenge. That's interesting that the Pope holds this place in the tarot, right? The Hierophant holds this place in the tarot. And people call this card the Pope, and you see this, it's this man and then these two people that seem to be in service to him or listening to him or somehow in reverence of him. He's between the two pillars, so he's of the temple, right? Of the sacred space. And people talk about this card as the card of the Pope. And the thing that I teach when I teach tarot, because so many people have such a strong connection to this card and to organized religion, which is valid, and it's not the whole story. It's a reduction of the story that does not serve us. The reason that the Pope sits at this place is because the idea of change, challenge, creativity, freedom is actually quite intimidating to people, or has been, maybe not so much anymore, but has been across time. And so you place a Pope between you and the unknown, between you and the sacred, between you and God. And you can call it the Pope. I like to refer to it as a bridge. So the Hierophant recognizes or represents anything that connects you as an individual, base human, right? Base human, to something higher, to something spiritual, to something purer. And so anything, the tarot is a Hierophant, right? This podcast is a Hierophant, ideally, in the best way, in that hopefully it helps you feel a little closer to God, a little closer to source, a little closer to spirit. I hope that when we're talking, that I'm talking, and we're engaged in this, that what you're finding is yourself circling back into your own sacredness. Like that's my goal, right? Is not to convince you that there's something other, someone other out there that can get you closer to God. My goal would be to use the tarot, to use storytelling, to use all the tools and practices at my fingertips to remind you of your own sacredness, your own divinity. But I digress. The Hierophant is the idea of real freedom, like real freedom, capital F freedom, is actually incredibly intimidating. It's that Marianne Williamson, we're not afraid of how powerless we are. We're afraid of exactly how powerful we are. And so we tend to do things to truncate or mitigate our power, our bigness, our freedom, because we want to be cocooned. That doesn't feel necessarily safe. And so we put something like the Pope or the church or tarot or whatever between us and God, us and spirit, us and the universe, so that we can say, like, I'm not in direct revelation. I'm not fully responsible here. I'm not fully free here. I'm still in service to something that is holding the gateway, the bridge between me and spirit, me and the universe. And if that sounds negative at all, it's not. Judgment in that, it's a very human thing to do, to want to create protection and boundary around concepts or experiences that feel too vast for us to fully hold by ourselves. We want to feel anchored. We want to feel connected. We don't want to be cut loose into total freedom. There's a reason why spiritual lineages prepare you for access to freedom, prepare you for access to the field, because there's a disorientation of me as an individual versus me as the universe. Like, that movement can be very disorienting. And so there's a reason why you practice and you set yourself in a medicine or a lineage that can help prepare you, prepare your vessel, prepare your ego, prepare your psyche for the movement into such vast expansive levels of freedom. So we use lineages, churches, figures, institutions to kind of buffer us from that pure freedom that we both crave and ache for and are intimidated by. So the Hierophant is anything that man has created or we have created that sits between us and direct knowing of source, of spirit, of God. And so the Bible is that, church is that, all the tools of spirituality are that, yoga is that, like anything that creates any kind of distance between you as the divine. You are all you need. You are everything that is good in the world, all right here. And so the people don't like this card for so many reasons. But I really try to help people understand that while it can represent the church, it can represent the Pope, that's just a placeholder for it representing the thing that I use to bridge myself, to distance myself, and also connect myself to God or to spirit. Okay, so that's the Hierophant. And we would say, if you were looking at a book and you were looking at traditional interpretations, you would say the Hierophant is that which is sacred. The sacred institution, the thing that cannot be questioned. This is an interesting moment to be having a thought about Hierophant energy. You cannot name an institution that has not failed us recently. And you can see people like, take the Catholic Church, for example. Such harm, such profound harm carried out in the name of God. Even worse. Like it's so horrible what that institution has enacted on people, on its faithful across time. Not even just the current things that have gone wrong, but like across time. And what Pope Leo is doing right now feels like something to believe in. Feels like some kind of anchor of morality and good and love in the world. And that's just my opinion. Like, you might not agree with that. So so the institution is doing something, and then there are individuals within the institution doing something, and that matters. That conversation matters. But the institution itself has failed us on so many levels, right? The government is failing us left and right. And it's interesting to watch, if you track back over this last decade, how real and solid the government felt, how real and solid institutions felt, and now how they just don't, how we see the fallibility in them so clearly. And it leaves many of us wondering, like, well, what do we do? If we can't trust the things that we were told to trust, if the places that we were told were sacred and incorruptible are actually rife with corruption and completely desecrated, what do we do now? Okay, so then we go to the devil. Okay, here he is, the profane. This guy, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. What feels good now, and how can I make it mine, and how can I change it to me? So this is interesting, right? He's making this, he's a beast. He's not even a man. He's a beast. I forget who he represents. He represents Haiti, the devil, the horned god. But they're doing the exact, they're like literally making the same motion. And these guys the people are facing out. These people are facing him. Okay, there's so much I want to say that my brain's getting away from me. But even that, there's just a side note. Look how the people are fully focused on the character. His word is law. This guy, they're chained up. It looks like they should be beholden to him, but they're facing us boldly. That's interesting. Orientation in the tarot is so important. And it says a lot when a character's back is to you, and it says a lot when a character is facing you fully. And in the Lovers card, we always talk about how the masculine is looking at the feminine, who is looking at God. And in this card, what's interesting, let me make sure I'm really seeing it clearly, but I think I am. Is, first of all, the devil's looking straight at us. Eyes on you, eyes on me. And then the masculine energy is looking at the feminine energy and actually holding out his hand. And the feminine energy is also looking right at you. And we could probably do a whole podcast just on that dynamic. But this is really interesting to think about these orientations. Okay, so back to the devil. The devil is the 5, change, conflict, freedom, and the 10, the wheel of fortune. The things that happen, the turns of fate that happen that make us see clearly where we can get more free, where we actually need challenge, freedom, where we're actually chained up, the things that we are in service to. You guys have definitely heard me talk about that because it's my favorite topics when the devil comes up. What are you in service to, and do you still choose it? So the devil is the reminder that we are in service. To be human is to become immediately in service to our bodies, the shape they are, the limitations they have, the needs they have. We are immediately indebted and indentured and in service to our bodies. And then the rest of life unfolds. But the devil is the reminder that you are in service. You are not completely free while you are here in the earth school. And so if you are in service, do you choose that? Are you conscious and aware and on board with the contracts you're making? And I've told you guys this before, I'm sure, but I'll say it again. My first walk of the shamanic wheel, I'm happy, and I've always been pretty content in my body, but very lightly so. You can blame it on white fragility, blame it on my short leg, blame it on whatever you want. I don't even know what I would say about that. But when I walked the medicine wheel, one of the first things I noticed was how much easier it was for me to be out there. So like I can sit here and I can hear all kinds of things. I meet people and I can feel them on 17 different levels. My sense of energy is exquisitely sensitive and it's easier for me. Like I can be out in space, in the ethers. I can see things. I can connect to energies. It's very rich for me out there and it's in many ways easier. And I didn't realize how much I almost resented my body for its limitations. And so my first walk in the medicine wheel, it sounds kind of basic, but it was a pretty serious reorientation for me, was learning that to be in a body is incredibly precious. That the sensual experience of being in a body is something that we take for granted every day. And it is one of the most magical experiences a soul can have across the universes, across dimensions. And so this idea that I can hold the body as something equally gifting, equally liberating, equally satisfying and delicious as I can hold being free, energetic being in the world, that orientation really changed everything for me. That coming home into my body and holding my body as sacred was a pretty profound experience for me. It changed literally everything in my life. My experience of appreciating that the body is a place of limitation and also of incredible pleasure, experience, and singular. And it's miraculous to experience the body. It's like our earth. When we have a sense of the earth, when you really feel into the harmony and symmetry of the earth, the fact that we exist in this bubble where life is possible, it's beyond comprehension how miraculous and beautiful that is. I'm not sure how I got off on this tangent. We're talking about the devil, and we're talking about understanding the contracts and agreements you've made and making them with your eyes wide open. And in the very classic literature around the devil, right, the devil would be obsession, the devil would be addiction, the devil would be carnal desire. It would be everything that was considered low and unsacred and base. And so there's something about the devil that brings up this kind of animalistic nature. All we are our impulses and our desires. Is very Freudian. And the devil card here, it's interesting, the reorientation from the good being something of light out there, of energy, and the good actually being equally available in the body, that the body is actually a place of precious sacredness. We have been taught that that's not true, when that is so very true. And so as the devil inverses itself for us, we begin to realize that the desires, needs, wants of the body is rich material. It's rich material for learning, for growth, for experience, for even soul evolution. So the devil, if we looked at it just all by itself, we'd be like, oh, that's the body and its needs and how hard it is to be human and how kind of dirty we are as humans. But I think so much of what we're experiencing right now is how the individual body is such a beautiful tool for knowledge, for knowing what is in harmony, what is right. And if we're talking about the body, we're talking about the earth. We can't separate ourselves from the material world that way. And how much our bodies we've been told our bodies are a tool that actually just benefits capitalism, benefits commodification of our souls, right? It's a kind of bondage. It's a kind of slavery. Oh, you are only worth your output hours. You're only worth how hard you work. You're only worth what you perform or accomplish, what you can measure in your life. And I hope that part of what we're beginning to consider is that we're not just cogs in a machine, and that our bodies are not these things to just work and abuse into the ground, that there's something to hold of God in your body, with your body, in your engagement with your body. And if you really begin to feel yourself as a sacred being, you can't give yourself away. You can't give away your energy. You can't give away your sacred fire carelessly. You can't do that anymore. And I think that part of the revolution, I hope that we're undergoing, is the sense of, I was never wrong to be in my body. I was never wrong to hold my body as something precious. So in that way, these things that we've been told are profane, are wrong, are crooked or unimportant or something to evolve past or get rid of, is actually our main tool of expression and learning in this earth school. So it's interesting, right? On the surface, the Hierophant, this is the sacred, this is the profane, but there's something about the inversing of those things that's happening, I think, for us culturally, politically, systemically, but also happening for us in our individual systems right now. And like, all I could say to that is, aho, thank God. Because the other thing that happens here is that it's you versus the institution. And there's a way in which that hierarchy, that sense of, are you further or closer from God? Are you further to the sacred or closer to the profane? Are you free or are you in bondage? All of that stuff is a way to measure our worth and therefore separate us from each other. And I put that on Instagram the other day, but that idea, the most harmful tool wielded against women was not necessarily violence, but the way that other women were taught to treat us. We're taught to always be in competition. We're taught to always be judging our bodies and each other's bodies, to always be judging, are we closer to God or further away from God? That causes a kind of systemic harm and a kind of isolation that's very hard to recover from. And so again, the other thing that I think is coming up, which I've talked about a little bit, but it's here too, is this idea that anything that separated you from your body, from each other, from the earth, that we were told those were the wrong things, or those were the unpure things, or those were the unevolved things, when actually those are the places of your power, our community, our body, our earth. And so there's something about the re-understanding of our body, earth, community as the places of sacred power, as the places worth tending to, as the places worth being devoted to. I think that's all really interesting. So the 5, change, freedom, conflict. The 5 and the 10, change, conflict, freedom, and the turn of the wheel, and the wheel of fortune, and God's protection, the spirit of the universe's movements towards harmony. And so that comes up, we talked about in last week's podcast, this idea that the 10 is always too much. Like us humans, we get kind of stuck at the 9, and the 10 is the universe's push out of the nest. And shamans always say, out of the nest of your own becoming, Condor, pushing us out of the nest of our own becoming. We sometimes need the push. We need the turn of the wheel to see clearly, to become something new, to be motivated or inspired into the next get-go. Super interesting. Okay, so I hope I'm not like getting too weird and wonky on everyone, but I hope this is tracking. But think about that, though. Think about this idea of the sacred and the profane. That is your meditation for May. What is sacred and what is profane? And who told me so? And how does my life reflect that or not reflect that? How do my movements in community or in relationship reflect that or not reflect that? How does my relationship with the earth reflect that or not reflect that? And I always think about this, you guys. I always think about this. This is one of my anchors of hope, is when people talk about climate change, or the way we treat the earth or the way we treat each other. And I think about COVID, and I think about the whole dolphins in the canal thing. But this idea that for 3 months we were quiet, 2 months we were quiet, And so much of the world righted itself. So much of the earth righted itself. So I have to believe that. I have to believe that while we are important and we are so beautiful as humans and also so destructive and so terrifying, that we are just one part of the system. And the devil is going to remind us of that, and it's going to show us that the system endures. Harmony, the universe, it has an unfolding, it has a movement, a trajectory that we are a part of, but that we don't determine. And that's just so important. It's one of the key lessons of Condor and shamanism. It's something that I'm working with very explicitly right now. We can see the trajectory. We can understand how the field is harmonizing, and also recognize that we are in that movement and we have no right to impact that movement at the same time. There's something about that comes up. So thinking about the sacred and the profane, thinking about this idea of how two things that feel so foreign and different and opposite can actually invert into each other, can actually become like each other, can actually reverse their polarity, reverse their movement if you hold them in tension long enough. And there's something here about the institution and the individual that is just being held in pretty serious tension right now. And then the sacred and the profane, serious tension right now. And so we're holding these things in tension, and everyone's wondering what's going to happen? What's next? How do we recover from this? And I would just say to you, like, that's the faith in that 10. That's the faith in the Wheel of Fortune. Is that, and it goes back to that 4 of Cups. Maybe we don't have to know exactly how we're going to move past it. Maybe we can, again, trust a larger trajectory, trust a larger movement towards expansion and harmonization, and experience that the world is being birthed through. Not just us each individually, but the entire world is being birthed through. I'm just going to say this. I hope I don't get in trouble for something political, but whatever. I mean, as I said that, like 18 political things popped into my head. But when Trump won the first election, those of you know that story, and I was hoping that Hillary Clinton was going to win because that's who I had voted for, and I wanted to see a woman in the presidency. And I pulled the devil card, and I knew that he was going to win. And the thought that came through was that he is going to help us see the underbelly. He's going to see where the foundation is rotten so that we can repair it and build on steadier ground. We've seen that happen in so many ways. Like, what board of the house was not rotten? What board of the foundation was not rotten? So I always associate Trump, and as destructive as he is and how awful what's happening is, in the way that he is, in some ways, the Antichrist. In some ways, he is the one through which we see everything that is harmful, everything that has been desecrated in our world, and we build a desire to not live that way anymore, to not be complicit in those systems anymore. So that always comes up for me. But what I see here is anyone watching the Iranian Lego propaganda videos? And does that come up on anyone else's TikTok? First of all, they're genius. Second of all, they are so timely. Third of all, they are incredibly effective talk about effective storytelling, effective influence machines. Like, no notes, 10 out of 10. Whether you agree or don't agree, they are telling a very clear story, and they are speaking to our population in a very specific way. Iran, who we thought was the devil, right? The axis of evil. How long have we heard that statement, right? And all of a sudden, they put out these videos, and you see them as the hero. The United States, oh, the great protector, the great benevolent nation. That's what we used to be thought of. And now we're like this. There's something interesting about this inversing. And whether you agree with me politically or not, you can find places where this is true. Choose an institution that you used to have faith in that you don't have faith in anymore. Choose a version of who you thought was going to emerge as a hero. And did they? Are they? What else is true? Who are the people that you thought were wrong? Is there any part of you that looks at them now and thinks, what's wrong? Another example. Men. Sorry. But like, how for so long, incredible harm, not even to be debated, that men cause physical, emotional, relational harm across the board You don't even need to debate that. And if you stay with it long enough, underneath it, you can feel the ways that men have been betrayed by the patriarchy as well. Or you can feel the harm done to young boys to turn them into men that would do such careless harm so casually. And so it's this idea of everything becomes its inverse. Everything becomes its reverse because nothing exists in perfect polarity. That's a theoretical concept. And so in what way do you want to just consider what has been polarized in your life, what is good and what is bad, and the way that those things might be changing shape and what that might mean for you? This feels so big. Like I said that in the beginning of the podcast, and I don't know what to do with it other than to tell you that this feels important. And it drives me crazy when astrologers get online and they're like, well, this full moon, this is the one that changes everything. I find that actually actively annoying. And I'm going to say it to you, there's something that's getting inverted in the month of May that is very interesting. The supporting cards I pulled for it make me not afraid of that at all. Everyone's like, this astrology is world war or revolutionary war, or the United States has never not gone to war during this kind of astrology. Valid. And what about dolphins in the canal? What about the idea that our path towards liberation might not be via war? Is there something else that might happen? Is there some kind of awakening? Is there some kind of inversion or reversal that we just couldn't even see coming that could change everything? I feel that here. I hope for that in my own heart, but I also feel that here. I ended up pulling 2 from each of the decks because the first herbal cards came out, and they were kind of like undeniably wanted me to have these 2 cards. But it was chamomile and ginseng, which is inner peace and the magician. I also want to say with the Hierophant and the Devil, there's something about what you desire. I always want to talk about desire because I think it's so important, especially for women, but particularly like what you desire held in contrast to what you were supposed to desire, and how there's these fundamental building blocks. Well, this is what I desire. And then all of a sudden was that even me? Did I even desire that? Or was I just told to desire that this whole time? There's something about that that's getting toggled around that's really interesting. And the Hierophant is going to be, again, what you should, your morality, what you should want, what you should desire, what's okay, what's acceptable. And the Devil's like, yeah, but what's real? Like what's real? What lights you up? What keeps you going? What kind of life do you want to be building? And there's, again, this contrast between what you're supposed to be doing and what you actually move towards. I dig it. I'm excited about it, but especially when you look at with chamomile, inner peace, and ginseng, the magician. There's something about, what am I even manifesting? Am I manifesting 3 new cars on my driveway? Is anyone still doing that? Is that still happening for anyone? Like, yes, may you have safe transportation. And is that still appealing to anyone over the age of 15? Is that really what we want? We want more of that? Are we past that yet? I hope so. I hope we're getting past that. And then chamomile and chameleon. Chameleon spirit act as if, and flamingo spirit embrace the in-between. So that's where I come back to my dolphins in the canal thing. Embrace the in-between. There's something about keeping your eyes open at this point of inversion, at this point of reversal. That's where the juicy stuff is. That's where the good stuff is. Watching it change in real time. Watching this thing of, oh, this is what I'm manifesting. This is what I want. This is what matters. The record skip of, oh my God, I was wrong. I was lied to. That's actually not where the good stuff is. That's not where the life is. That's not where I want to be. And then I love the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle deck. It's one of my favorite. I love this Oracle deck. But tender trust, beloved body, and pray to the east, guardians watch over the west. So this is where I get this idea of, the body comes up again because I also pulled Empress and Judgment, but this idea of trusting your body and understanding that there's something really sacred and important about your relationship to your body because it echoes your relationship to your family, to your community, and to the earth. There's something about, it's a chain, it's connected. You can't really honor the earth if you're not really honoring your body. And you can't really honor your body if you're not also really honoring the earth. And then community and family and connection all comes in between that. And then this card, Pray to the East, Guardians Watch over the West, is the card that comes up when you don't need to worry about how it's ending. You've done your work at the gateway, you've done your work at the ending, and now turn to what's next. Turn to what you dream of, turn to the world you're trying to create. This is the energy of when the shaman moves from healing the past or healing their wounds to beginning to dream a new world into the light, into the future, into possibility. So we want to keep our eyes on our body this month and on what's happening, what our body is signaling to us about what is right and what is wrong. And then we want to be looking to the future. What are we trying to create? What do we want to build together? And let the institutions and the desecrated spaces do their own self implosion, self collapse. And that's not really where our energy needs to go, to hating on those. Our energy needs to go is to like, okay, well, that didn't work. So what are we doing now? I said this to someone recently. I'm super sensitive, you guys, but I'm super sensitive and I can't have any kind of aspartame or fake sugar. It makes me sick to my stomach. If I don't get enough sleep, I can get really delicate. Fragrances, I'm very sensitive to my environment, to my sensorial experience of the environment. And I always saw that as like a negative. I always was like, oh, I wish I wasn't so sensitive. I can't really do drugs very well. Can't drink. I get hungover after 2 drinks. I just am not built for consumption of toxins, which sounds like a weird thing, but that's the way I've reframed it. And just recently, someone gave me something and I could smell that it wasn't for me. And I was like, oh my God, how do I not honor my body's sensitivity? My body's been keeping me safe and clear and clean my whole life. And I've read it as like, why aren't you tougher? Why can't you hang? Why can't you do all the drugs and be fine? And why can't you tear the dog the next day? Why are you so sensitive, girl? And I think about it now at the age I'm in where I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you, body, for being so sensitive, for being this incredibly clear bellwether of what was good for me and what wasn't good for me. Men, I do that with men too, the whole vibe. Judgment and the Empress. So this is a different tarot deck. These are the cards I pulled. I pulled 2 major arcana cards from this other deck, which tells me, and in my own personal spreads, I'm pulling like 5 cards and like 4 of them are major arcana. The gambling ratios would tell you that's just impossible and it's happening over and over again. So Empress and Judgment. This is, my eyes are opened to the beauty of my body. My eyes are open to the gift of the earth. This is just doubling down on this whole message that what is sacred, my idea of what is sacred is changing. And aho and amen, and it's about time. May we look at the earth. May we look at the feminine. May we look at the body and say, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. May we look at the darkness, at the void, and say, thank you for your possibility and your richness and your restfulness and your peace. Can we look at the female body and say, thank you for your voluptuousness and your curves and your possibility and what you create and your beauty and your seduction? Can that become something that we honor and celebrate? And then lastly, Our Lady of Manifest Miracles. So, mic drop. Our Lady of Manifest Miracles, meaning that this is the place where miracles happen. Again, this Jungian idea of holding the tension without action, just with awareness. These are 2 opposites. And if I hold that, and this is a technique in hypnosis, you drop anyone into trance when you bring them opposite. One of the first phrases you learn in hypnosis is feel yourself both holding on and letting go. Those are polarized energies. And I'll say it again, feel your body for a second. I want you to imagine that you are both holding on and letting go. You actually drop into a trance state just like that. That's how fast that happens. Because there's a sense of the polarity. Because it's so hard to hold the polarity, we drop into a trance. We actually drop into a slower brain wavelength. We drop in. So that's 101 in hypnosis. You ask people to feel opposites, and it automatically puts them into a trance state. So we're holding this polarity, holding these energetic, and if we hold it long enough, they begin to transform. And if we hold it long enough, something new emerges. So this is this idea of manifest miracles. We don't need to actively tear them apart. We want to just hold the truth of them so that the truth of them is revealed to be more than what's on the surface, more than what our first past assumptions were. Cool, you guys. I did not see this coming. I thought we were going to be talking about, what did I think we were going to be talking about? Commitments, agreements, Yeah, and that might be here. There might be some things with commitments, agreements. You might find yourself, I guess I would come back to what I always say is the commitments and agreements you make. This sounds so dumb, but it's not as obvious as it sounds. They should feel good. Any commitments, agreements you make in May, your body should be a hell yes, full yes to. And if you're not a full yes to, pause it. And if your mind is saying you're supposed to be a yes to it and your body's, I'm not into it, please, 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 please trust your body. Please listen to your body. Please hear the sacred missives, the sermons of your body. That is the sacred place. Sounds so obvious, but literally this lecture I was listening to was like a 10-year-old lecture, and she was talking about the body, and she's right. Like, I forget that most people consider the body as less than, as something like a vehicle or an animal or something just to ride, and it is one of the greatest gifts you'll receive in 1,000 lifetimes. So I hope you can feel that this month. All right, let's check some individual cards and see what's going on. But yeah, bindings, agreements, commitments, what you're in service to, what you're bound to. Here, there might be some great sex this month. The Hierophant and the Devil are playing with that sacred profane energy. Also, art, any kind of art you want to make with the sacred profane overlap. I dig it. I think it's a really rich place. And one of the things that Kim Krantz was saying was like, if you ever need a cheat code to look at art, she's like, just look for the paradox, look for the sacred and the profane, the light and the dark. What are the opposites? What's the tension that the art is holding? So there's a possibility for great art this month, great sexual tension this month, great relational polarity this month, finding someone that you have that very powerful polarization with that makes you drop more into a deeper part of yourself, drop into almost a trance state. Oh man, I would love to call that in. But there's something here about the tension between being magnified this month. This energy exchange, energy transfer is pretty powerful and almost self-learning. So it's if you have something sacred, you have something profane, and then the tension between them comes alive and they begin to invert or reverse, all of a sudden what they're each made of changes and how they communicate and how they integrate with each other changes. Something like that. All right, cool. Super cool. I don't even remember what I thought we were going to be talking about, but this is a really beautiful idea. And I, again, find it very, very hopeful, not just for us as individuals, but collectively. This feels like a new earth, reordering of our priorities and honoring something very fundamental about being human. And at the end of a very harmful, very violent separation that's been asked of us in terms of our bodies and the earth. Aho. Okay. That's what I got for you. I'm going to pause this and then I will pull some cards for every sign. Holy shit, that was long. Oy, okay. Cuties, are we rolling? Taurus, we're going to start with you. Hey, my Taurus friends. Death and Seahorse Spirit, watch and wait. Okay, so Taurus. Oh, first of all, catch your breath, friends. Catch your breath. This Uranian movement, Uranus moving out of Taurus is just, especially for us Taurus rising, check myself, relax for a second, just catch my breath. There's something transforming. Watch and wait is easy. It means what you think is happening, what you think is being revealed is not the whole picture. And there's something that's actually getting some skin that's being shed, some transformation that's taking place, some resurrection actually is what I hear. So there's something getting resurrected that you're going to feel differently about. And the seahorse, just think about a little seahorse. It's not like they're watching, waiting, and they're like, They're watching, waiting, and they're bobbing in the current and doing their seahorse thing, and the daddies are having babies. And there's just something about the lightness, allowing the transformation to happen, allowing things to settle that the seahorse is enjoying. They just enjoy the ride a little bit. Maybe it's your season. The other thing I would say is it's not on you to make all the changes and fixes. If you see something that needs to be shifted, maybe you let it go and see how other people handle it, see how it resolves on its own. Don't feel like just because you see a problem, you have to fix a problem. Because this month, you're going to see a problem and you're just going to bob along and be like, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder where the current's going to take me next. I wonder what's going to happen next. Gemini, High Priestess and Bat Spirit, a return is assured. No, a rebirth is assured. So it's another rebirth card, another transformation card, another, I keep wanting to say resurrection card. And the High Priestess means that you probably, Gemini and High Priestess, you get along very well. The High Priestess and Gemini. Gemini in its best form has a kind of channeling capacity to it. Hey, shout out to my Gemini moon. So you want to have a sense of trusting your intuition, trusting what you hear. And a rebirth is assured. And I love the bat energy. The bat is about learning to navigate with tools other than your sight. So learning to navigate with your senses, with what the environment feels like, what things sound like, what you're hearing. So can you develop your other navigational tools this month? They are going to be the most reliable ones, Gemini. Less your mind and your words and your eyes, and more your felt sense. And that's really going to kind of come alive. I keep hearing spidey senses. It's going to really come alive this month, and you want to trust that navigation above maybe the logical linear navigation. Gemini Cancer, 10 of discs and hawk spirit. Let spirit be your guide. Cancer, 10 of discs is good. It's great. It's legacy energy. It's having enough to share. So in May, you're going to feel like you should feel an abundance of earth energy. And something about letting spirit be your guide is don't hamper your own generosity this month. So maybe you can't be generous with coin, maybe you can be generous with food. What are the material resources that you have access to that you can be generous with? There's something about, it's almost let spirit be your guide feels like it's going to bring you to opportunities or people that could use your particular flavor of generosity. Obviously, you want to bring that to yourself first. You want to make sure that you're being generous and good to yourself. But this does feel like there's something about your community, about the larger group, about your family, about your legacy, that you're being called to, be generous, but also notice where you have abundance. And you don't want to be hoarding anything that's never want to be hoarding anything, but you definitely don't want to be hoarding anything this month, Cancer. And your natural inclination when things feel unsure is to you can kind of crawl in. And there's something about when you notice that instinct to kind of curl in, which sometimes you need to do, but have the question in your mind, what act of service might actually feel really good right now? Is that idea that when you feel a lack of generosity or abundance in your life, you actually bring your hands to service, and it helps kind of keep you in check around your own gratitude? There's something about that here for you, Cancer. And also to receive that generosity, allow yourself to receive. Something about the exchange of resources this month, that there's just a lot. And so just any instinct you have around like miserly or like tightening your grip, either in receiving or in giving, see what you can do with that. See like what might be possible there. Leo, 3 of Swords and Crow spirit, co-create with spirit. Okay, 3 of Swords, we know this. Leo is not, it's a hard deck. It has to do with your heart being pierced, and your heart being a little bit broken. And while that's true, so honoring that if that's true for you right now, there's also something about what I'm saying about the Hierophant and the Devil, this like inversion. There's something about the ones with the broken heart being the most beautiful and brave among us. There's something about the idea of the wound is where the light gets in. There's something about recognizing, obviously nobody wants to go through heartbreak, and yet our hearts are breaking all day long if we're paying attention. So there's something about the tenderization of your heart, and any way that you've kind of held it in stability to prevent it from being wounded is actually also preventing it from expansion and sensation and living. I have a friend who's a Leo, and we were talking a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about when he feels really bright and alive, that sometimes people get the wrong idea or get the wrong message. And you can't curtail that. If people are going to have their narrative, as long as you're in integrity with your energy, don't ever hold back your heart, your love, your vibrancy, because it's the greatest gift that a Leo can offer the world. And there's something here about your heart, right? Leo is in charge of the heart space, and courage comes from the word heart, the French word heart. There's something about this idea of even if your heart's wounded, it's better than it being static. There's something about opening your heart space, even if it's scary, even if it hurts a little bit, even if you feel a little tender or vulnerable doing it, that's actually a movement towards life. So I hope that makes sense, Leo. It's like the 3 of Swords usually comes in as, heartbreak. It can come as the card of heartbreak. But I've said this before, it's also the card of the lion-hearted. It's also the card of the courageous. And what I hear is it's the card of the light bringer, the light bearer. And that's who you are, Leo. And we need that from you probably more than ever. That kind of heart-centered, courageous light is something that you deserve to live that way. And then hopefully the world appreciates that, the beautiful light that you are. Okay. Virgo? Leo, Virgo, yes. Okay. Virgo, we have the Daughter of Wands and Mouse Spirit. Tend to the small things. Everyone's always like, I don't want the mouse card. We love the mouse card. There's something here about tending to your pleasure, tending to what it's like, what lights you up. What are the small things? And we see this all the time, Virgo. Actually, maybe you appreciate the mouse card as I said that. Virgo loves the small things. They love the fine print and the details and the devotional details. And so embrace that. And this is like the energy of, look how much red is in that card. There's something here about your pleasure and your root chakra and your sacral chakra and your creativity. There's something really beautiful here about tending to the small things as a sacred act, as a way of bringing yourself pleasure. So this is the idea, like, you get ready for bed, but then you can put on a beautiful silk robe and you can play music and you can light candles and you can put on your best cream. And that's also getting ready for bed. And it's small changes. It's small. It takes, an extra 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and it elevates the whole experience. There's an appreciation from one of your natural gifts, Virgo, is to elevate the experience by caring about the details. And there's something here about that, but for your own pleasure, just to light yourself up. You just cut the peach in a pretty way because you feel like cutting the peach in a pretty way. There's something about not limiting the pleasure you take from your life by expanding the pleasure in the small moments. I love that as a practice and as experience. I hope that something about that feels like it opens a door for you, and I'm into that. Libra, we have the Hangman, the Hanged One, and Coyote Spirit. Trust in divine detours. Oh, Libra. Okay, Libra. I mean, Coyote and Hangman are trickster, reversal energy. So might not go the way you planned it to. And can you embrace, this Ganesha is written all over this, like, can you embrace the detours, the pauses, the roundabouts, the way things maybe are not on the path that you thought they'd be on, as something like fermenting, something getting softened or taught in you, or reversed in you for a reason. The detours, the reversals, the pauses, the halts, there's something about like the full stops are actually there for a reason. And so just notice that, Libra. You might take it personally is what it feels like, or feel like you're being thwarted. And if you can instead understand that there's some trickster energy at play, there's some reversal energy at play, and that's divine guidance too. I don't think I think you're gonna be a little annoyed, Libra. And I'm like, don't be annoyed. Yeah. Talk to Coyote, talk to trickster energy, or whatever the trickster in your worldview is. There's somebody putting their hands in the pie and moving things around that you might be a little annoyed with, but it's for a good reason. Really remember that it's not happening carelessly. Scorpio, 10 of Cups, we love it, and Rabbit Spirit. Now is a lucky time. Okay, Scorpios, okay, brothers and sisters, let's enjoy this. The 10 of Cups, also a lot. So this is so much happiness, so much joy that it actually impacts my community and my family. This is like falling in love in a way that actually radiates love and light to the larger space. And Rabbit, like it says, is lucky energy, fast energy. This feels quick. This feels like a pretty, it feels like a flood, but not in a bad way, just a flood. Oh, and I'm working with rainbow in my art class right now, which sounds really silly, but it's not. It's very profound, you guys. It's very serious. But the rainbow as the example of something that holds tension between light and water. Guys, I swear I'm super deep all the time with the rainbow energy. Sorry, it just made me giggle. The rainbow energy in the 10 of Cups feels really lovely, and it feels like shared joy. So Scorpio, enjoy this. There's not, the only thing you say about the 10 of Cups is it's like my heart grew 3 times that day. It's that kind of energy. There's an expansiveness to it, which can feel, sometimes it can feel challenging. Mostly it just feels good. You're just happy. Don't wait for the other shoe to drop, Scorpio. Try to relax your natural hypervigilance or wariness and just know that sometimes it's just nice. I hope you can enjoy that. Sagittarius, Queen of Swords and Koala Spirit. Spirit has a plan, and so do you, Sagittarius. This feels really clear. You feel super aligned. Queen of Swords, she can be a little bit of a bitch in the best way. She knows what she wants. She's black and she's white. The gray area can get lost with her. But something about this feels like you and Spirit aligned and passionate. This feels like fire horse energy. This feels like Sagittarius on a tear, not confused. Sagittarius on a mission. Full stop. That feels really good. The only thing I would say is judgment, like harsh judgment. So if you're like, you're not supposed to do that, or that's not the way it's supposed to be, again, there's a little bit of that detour energy, that trickster energy of the koala being like, chill, baby, chill. So just, you might want to notice if you have a harshness cutting into your thoughts or your language, and just like, what would koala think about that? What would koala offer you? He'd probably be like, you could chill a little bit, just enjoy the sun for a minute. Need some tempering of that, like, honesty, that clarity, that Sagittarius, sometimes you don't have a lot of patience for other people's weeble wobble, and the koala is going to kind of try to soften you in that respect. Capricorn, Skunk Spirit, know your worth, and the sun. Okay, Capricorn, know your worth. This is so happy. What happy. You and Scorpio have a lot of really joyful energy here. Know your worth. This also harkens back to what I was saying to Leo, like, let yourself be happy and know you're allowed to be happy. And there might be, again, if we're talking about tensions all month, you might notice the polarity. You might notice the tensions, like, this is my happy place, but I don't feel very happy here. This is supposed to be challenging, but yet I'm oddly satisfied here. There's something here about where you think your happiness is getting inverted a little bit, getting reversed, and finding joy and happiness in a place that maybe you wouldn't expect it. And the Skunk Spirit just feels like, know your worth, trust yourself. Like a little bit of that, you don't have to explain yourself even to yourself. Something about you're allowed to be happy. And you don't need to explain to anyone why you're happy there or not happy there. You're allowed to just let that be. And again, this might come down to agreements. There might be some chatter about agreements you made when you didn't know your worth, agreements you made where you weren't quite willing to make sacred your happiness. So there might be something that comes up around that, but there's a lot of brightness, solar energy power here, and I'm not worried about you figuring that out, Capricorn. It's just really a permission to be happy where you're happy without having to explain it. Aquarius, Eight of Swords and Snake Spirit, time to rest. Eight of Swords in the traditional deck is the woman bound up. Her eyes are bound, and she's kind of like walking down that river. These two cards together are, if it's saying time to rest, Aquarius. So you don't need to fight the revolution all at once. Like, that's what comes to mind. You don't need to fight the battles all at once. This feels like a month where you might want to pause and rest. And trust me, I don't like to hear that either. Or maybe you do, maybe you need permission for that. But there's something here about live to fight another day. And to do that, you need to make sure that your body and your vessel are cared for. Aquarius, you have so much heart and so much energy and so much expansiveness. And Uranus is moving into Gemini, which Uranus is your ruler. So there's something about, like, it can feel like a lot. And you might not be able to explain why it feels like a lot. It just does. So you have just full stop permission to rest this month, Aquarius. Keep telling yourself that. This is my month with permission to rest. This is the month where I'm allowed to rest and watch things get inverted. That's very Uranian. Like, oh, that's sacred? Not anymore. Oh, that's profane? Not anymore. Aquarius, what do we got next? Pisces, Three of Pentacles and Turkey Spirit. Give with gratitude and grace. This is about you building something with people or a community. This is Three of Pentacles is about people in love with their work, creating something beautiful together. And give with gratitude and grace feels like just generosity around your skills. So I have a friend who wants me to come do something at her shop, and I was like, oh, of course I will. And she said, well, can I pay you? And I was like, I don't want to get paid for that. I want to get paid, pay me, but not for that. And so this is the idea. This is a place where I'm so happy to give because it feels good to give there. So just notice the places where it feels good to give, and be generous with that. Like there's something here about not counting your coins, not nickel and diming anyone. There's something here about sometimes we sacrifice like the payday for the art. There's something here about the art and the community being the most important thing. It's very specific, but that's what I feel there, Pisces. Let me see if there's anything else. No, just follow your heart wants to collaborate. And yes, don't let ideas about whether you're giving too much. I mean, obviously discernment, take care of yourself. But if you want to give a little bit more this month in like service to the art and service to the community, you have just a lot of permission to do that, knowing that there will be plenty more. And then Aries, Empress and Koi fish spirit, there is always enough. So similar to what I was just saying to Pisces. The Empress card and the Koi card are just like, there's so much plenty. So enjoy that, Aries. It should feel really good. And if you find yourself not enjoying that, or there's not plenty, that's your work. And it harkens back to what I was saying to Virgo. Start with the small things. Like where do you, the classic A. Hendricks, where do you limit your joy? Where do you limit connection? Where do you limit ease? And just see if you can just expand, micro expansions. Where do you rush your body when it doesn't want to be rushed? Where do you not listen to your body where it needs to be listened to? Like what if you got really indulgent with your body and with what feels good to you, and just see what happens? Like you might have something in you that's rewiring around efficiency, productivity, hustle. That is like you're testing the waters of how much can I get done while feeling as good as possible. Okay, there you go. All right, gang, we have the 8 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck and Ant Spirit. So those are both worker cards. Collaboration, community, body, earth. That's what we're working with in May. And in Mystic Rising, we're working with mother energy. Like the mother, the matriarchy. And again, you guys have heard this, it's all over the internet right now, but like the matriarchy doesn't center women. It centers the most vulnerable among us. It centers the earth. It centers the creative possibility portal that is the earth and that is, women's bodies, but not because it's centering women, because it's centering the thing that creates life in our community and makes life possible in our world. On that note, best of luck. May your experiments with the sacred and profane be hot and sexy this month. May the revolution be like, it kind of feels like Summer of Love vibes. I keep getting that hit. Like, are we in for like a sexual revolution? Are we in for a summer of love? How happy I am to be alive at that time. I'll talk to you guys later. So much love to you. We got this.